Jeff Paterson, who I'm sure would like to talk about just a complete effort, a win tonight, take care of business against the Montreal Canadiens. Jeff, what are you looking for from the team tonight?
Goals. Lots and lots of goals. But I go to the rink every night wanting and wishing for that and have been a little disappointed, obviously, for a while. Although I will say here in 2025, the Canucks have scored more than 3 goals a game twice. One of them was against Montreal back on the 8th of January. That's the good news. They got the Habs in here. Habs give up a bunch. They're a top 10 team in goals given up. I think they're slotted in between Seattle and Columbus. So there's opportunities. But the night the Canucks scored 4 in Montreal, JT Miller had 2 of them. I haven't seen him around the rink for a while now. So even on those nights where there were a bunch of goals, rare as it has been, part of it was JT kind of came out of nowhere that night and had a 2-goal performance. So, when I guess it's a little alarming to me when you put that stat up there that a regulation loss tonight leaves the Canucks with a 1 in 4 chance of making the playoffs. Like, if they lose tonight, they stay 1 point behind the Calgary Flames. But I think that frames the importance of every game now for the Vancouver Canucks. And so you asked Harm about morning skate. Quite frankly, I went to the rink thinking that we would see Artur Silovs get in the warm-up routine to get the start here tonight. But this now opens the door for Kevin Lankinen to have to play both ends of the back-to-back. And the Calgary Flames, by the way, they haven't played since Saturday, since they beat Montreal 1-0. So they have, they've been idle, they've well rested, and here are the Canucks playing Sunday night, playing Tuesday night, flying to Calgary, and having to get ready for a huge showdown. So they can't worry about the Flames tonight. Like, all of their focus and all of their energy has to be on a Montreal team that had won 5 straight before they lost both of their games in Alberta. But they've been playing better of late. And if you think that this is, the easier of the 2 games, or, this is one the Canucks should have, well, the Habs are in this same boat. I mean, they're 4 points back of the playoff spot, the wild card in the East. So it's go time. Like, there's going to be a really disappointed team that leaves the rink tonight, the one that comes out on the wrong end of the score. There are 2 massive points at stake here. And let's see if these teams sort of both rise to the occasion and play like their playoff lives are depending on it.
Did you agree with Tocchet's decision last game to limit the ice time of DeBrusk, Paterson, and Besser? And how confident are you that we're going to see some type of emotional response from those guys in a really high stakes game?
Yeah, I mean, to a point, I did agree with it. If you're going to send messages, they got down 2-1 late in the second period. I know it was just 1 goal, but they weren't going. And really, that 2-1 goal, Paterson loses the draw, Besser and DeBrusk, the 3 of them were out there together. I didn't love the rebound that Lankinen kicked out onto the stick of Granlund, but it shows you the margins, right? You lose a face-off and a rebound, and boom, that turns out to be the game-winning goal. And it just kind of felt like Tocchet sensed that the hill was too steep against this Dallas team on Sunday, that if he was going to send a message, do it now, and flog these guys publicly and hope the response is tonight against the Montreal Canadiens. And so I kind of think I understand the method to his madness in that regard. As for a response, look, talk is cheap. We've heard a lot of talk from the Vancouver Canucks on a lot of topics all season long, and they remain below the playoff bar. So it's on the players. I was so encouraged with the one-timer from EP40 on Friday and just saw nothing on Sunday. And that's been this disappointing pattern that on the few nights here in the last couple of months, when there have been some signs of life, he hasn't been able really to build on it and stack. Brock has just gone completely missing offensively, and that's tough to watch. 8 straight games now. The trade deadline surely played into it. He admitted as much, but that's come and gone. He is a Canuck for the remainder of the season. They need him. And we saw how effective he could be in the playoffs last year. Like, this is their playoffs. There may not be playoffs unless these guys step up. And so, kind of quietly, Jake DeBrusk still leads the team, Harm, but I think he has 2 5-on-5 goals since Christmas. Like, he's been a power play merchant, and that's fine. Somebody's got to score on the power play, but the bulk of the game is still played 5-on-5. And when I looked the other day, since Christmas, the leading Canucks goal scorer 5-on-5 has 3 goals. There's 3 guys. It's Suter, it's Garland, and I think Sherwood or Hoaglander, but it's not any of the top end guys. So 5-on-5 offense is really dried up for all of these players. They need to be better, and it has to start tonight. So let's see if there is a response to the public criticism from the coach.
On DeBrusk, what did you make of the comments? I think he spoke yesterday about needing to play with a little more chaos and, body position. Obviously, we know Rick Tocchet really loves body position. I like to see what DeBrusk said, because again, you think about, okay, he's put up the goals. I can see the goal total. I know they're there, but what's he doing when he's not scoring goals, which has been for big stretches this season? That's what it comes down to for me. What did you make of what DeBrusk said yesterday?
Yeah, again, they saying the right thing. That's fine, but now you got to back it up with action. And for him, when he got on that really hot run in November and into December, all of his goals were coming from right at the net front, and he had the magic touch. Now, are you going to tip every single shot that comes your way? No, although it felt like for a short while there that, just couldn't miss. I do think that he's got to get back to the net front, even though he's a winger, get into that area. That is where the bulk of the goals are scored in the National Hockey League. And, he's shooting enough. He doesn't have an absolute cannon, but we've seen that he's got a pretty accurate shot the other night when he went up over the shoulder of John Gibson. It was a power play goal, but off the rush. It wasn't a conventional power play goal. I was just looking at this before I joined you guys, because I was really thinking about Philip Hedl, who has looked good, has been noticeable, the speed, the transition game, all that kind of stuff. Hedl leads all Canucks since he arrived here with 36 shots on goal in 12 games. So 3 a game. The next closest guy, DeBrusk and Garland, have 25. Like, he's had 9 more shots on goal than anybody else on the team, but he has to figure out, I'm talking about Hedl, he's got to figure out a way to translate the speed and putting himself in positions and then actually pulling the trigger and scoring, because he scored in his debut. He has 1 goal in 11 games since. And so he's kind of, caught this disease that seems to have plagued so many of the Canucks this season, is that you go on these long stretches. He's another guy that you're counting on to generate some offense here. So, just get involved. Brock talked about it as well this morning, that, he mentioned the word greasy a couple of times. I think there is an element of that. They're making life pretty easy on opposing goaltenders. They're at a point now where Derek Forbort scored the other night. Carson Soucy scored as a parting gift to the team before he was traded. Teddy Bluger, who hadn't scored since Christmas, all of a sudden has 2 goals of late. But, that is a slippery slope. If you're leaning on those guys to generate your offense, you're just not going to win many games. And so talk has to come back too. When I say the discussion has to come back. I guess talk does as well. We're talking, got to come back to those top end guys, and they have to produce. And yet, we've been saying that all season long, and this is the problem. They are one of the lowest scoring teams in the National Hockey League, and in the second half, they are the lowest scoring team in the league. So, can you flip a switch? At this stage, it seems unlikely, but it does feel that on those nights when they get 3, they absolutely have to find a way to get a result.
Considering the stakes around this back-to-back and how unreliable Artur Shilovs has been this season, do you agree with the decision to start Lankinen tonight and presumably tomorrow for both legs of the back-to-back? Or is there growing concern for you around the workload and potential fatigue for a guy in Lankinen who has already hit a career high in games played?
Yeah, this is going to be his 5th straight start. He started the game in Seattle. Haven't seen Shilov since he got shelled in Anaheim. So end of a 4-game homestand. Lankinen has played all the games here. And then this game of consequence tomorrow night in Calgary, I think it is setting up for a Lankinen start again, although Rick Tocchet this morning wouldn't confirm that and said his history has been that he hasn't leaned on guys in back-to-backs. I thought, and I applaud the organization for sending Shilovs down to Abbotsford on Saturday, getting him a start there. I know he gave up 4, but they won. But just him seeing game action, I thought was all done with an eye to him getting this start tonight, give Lankinen an additional day of rest, and be ready to go and dialed against the Calgary Flames. But as we sit here right now, I'm not sure that is the plan. Tocchet did mention he would consider the workload, and he pointed to the 2 games last week where, against Dallas, they lost, but Lankinen only faced 19 shots. And in fact, they scored an empty netter, so it was only 18 shots for Lankinen. And yet the Minnesota game, 37 saves, a season high for him. Like, there's no way you could ask a guy to turn around and go right back in after being shelled all night long the way that he was. So I do think that tonight's game, just keep an eye not only on the result, but the way it unfolds, the process, the workload for Lankinen. I think they're keeping him as an option because I can't get my head around the idea that a head coach would turn to his backup in what is essentially their game of the season on Wednesday, even if it is back-to-back, when you had a way to line up your goaltending so that Shilovs could have started tonight. I think they're going Lankinen tonight and hoping that it's not a terribly challenging night for him and he's ready to go against the Flames again at the Saddle Dome on Wednesday.
That's really interesting. I hadn't even considered that because, like we've talked about Talking's history, and again, remember that California road trip they were on? We talked about, maybe you start Lankinen for both of those, and he said, no, I don't start guys back to back. Like he said it pretty point blank, and then Shilovs got the second game. So when I saw Lankinen was starting against Montreal, I immediately thought, okay, well they're going to Artie. Artie's tomorrow against the Flames, and obviously we opened the segment talking about the consequence that this game carries, but tomorrow, that's your game 7. That's your most meaningful game in March you're ever going to play. I would be shocked if they go to Lankinen 2 days in a row. I don't think it's a bad idea, but I just haven't seen it from this head coach and really this coaching staff when they work together to make this decision. Haven't seen it yet, so that'd be really interesting. Interesting to see if they actually do go to Lankinen.
Well, and just the way the schedule works, I mean, it's back-to-back here, Montreal, Calgary, and then a couple of days between games, and then Chicago and Utah. I mean, yes, we're looking at all these games right now in isolation as the most important game until the next one, but the game against Utah on Sunday could be massive as well. And by the way, Utah plays in Seattle on Friday. They're off Saturday while the Canucks are playing the Chicago Blackhawks. No travel there, but that's why I thought, Shilovs tonight, take your chances against the Montreal Canadiens. Didn't score the other night in Calgary. It doesn't mean that they're not going to ever score. They got Cole Caulfield at 31 goals, and Suzuki's at 65 points. And I'm really looking forward to seeing Lane Hudson in person as well tonight. So they've got some offensive dynamos there, but I still thought go with Shilovs tonight, save Lankinen for Calgary. And then if there was ever a situation where you had to roll your starter on back-to-back nights, it would be on the weekend where there is no travel. He can sleep in his own bed, do his own preparation and all that kind of stuff. He's not going to play them all. He can't. And he's already at 5 in a row starting tonight. So, really interesting to sort of see the decision-making and the planning that goes into it. But again, I just thought that sending Shilovs to Abbotsford for a game on Saturday was good use of the farm system with an eye to getting him a start. And I don't know when we're going to see it. And maybe it will be tomorrow, but that just seems so counterintuitive to me that your season essentially hanging in the balance and you turn to your third string guy who I know has playoff experience, but if it's about getting wins, you want to run your best team, best lineup out in Calgary on Wednesday night. So let's see what tonight brings and then we'll see what Wednesday holds.
We've got a super chat here. I want to get to it. It's from Kevin Smeltzer Music. He said, J-Pat, we need you to put EP40 in a good mood before the game today. Help us. And Paul Papadula said, J-Pat, tell Petey that I said he looks handsome today. Unfortunately, you were already at the rink, so we appreciate the donation to the VC Mental Health Foundation, but you were already at the rink today. And at the rink, we saw Quinn Hughes skate. Did we get an update on Quinn Hughes, Jeff?
First of all, I thought, Paul, when I read the chat there, I thought, yeah, I'm having a good hair day. I do look pretty good, but apparently it's Petey. All right. Fair enough. Apparently Daniel Wagner had a quick chat off to the side. I think was going down the Earn Your Ice Time avenue with some of these guys and said that Petey wasn't playing this morning. He's playing tonight, but he wasn't playing with the media. Didn't really want to get into that line of discussion this morning. So I didn't talk to Elias Paterson myself. As for Quinn Hughes, Rick Tocchet said it was a productive day, but he was quick to point out not only was Quinn in a non-contact jersey, there was no contact at this morning's skate. It was primarily working on the power play. They had both power play units out first. Those guys put in about 10 minutes of time, and then the rest of the group joined quick skate. And so the idea that, Quinn Hughes in a no-contact jersey today, I don't think he's going to be ready. He's not going to play tonight. I don't think he'll be an option for Wednesday in Calgary. Rick was asked, is he going to travel? And Rick said they hadn't gone that far yet. So the coach was sort of skating around some of the questions around the captain, but he did say that yesterday he pushed it. It was a day of progress, but just where they are in the schedule, guys, with these back-to-backs and then a day off on Thursday, you may think, Quinn Hughes needs practice time. There just aren't many practices at this time of the year. And so that sort of complicates and compounds the issues for the Vancouver Canucks. So, take the coach at his word that, yes, this was progress and a good day for Quinn Hughes, but it's another night. This will be 5 in a row for him that he hasn't played. And, I just don't know when we're going to see him. Just watching with my own eye. Like, he's mobile out there. I thought he looked far freer in his motions on the ice today than on Friday at the trade deadline when I saw him skate with the skills coach. So, yeah, to the eye, it looked like a bit of progress. But there's clearly still some road that has to be traveled here before he's cleared and ready to play again.
Jeff, I'll leave you with this one. It was our poll question yesterday. We do our Canucks poll questions on non-Canucks game days, as you know. But other than Quinn Hughes, forwards, okay? Who's going to lead this team in points by the end of the year? Among the forwards. That's your first question to chew on, okay? And Besser and Garland are tied at 38. Paterson and DeBrusk are tied at 36. Second question to chew on is, will a forward hit 50 points this year? That was our sub-poll question yesterday.
My sense is that Connor Garland somehow will get across that finish line. His 29th birthday.
We both picked Garland.
29th birthday, by the way. And I've seen a lot of people saying, like, oh, he's been their most consistent forward all year. And maybe he has. But, man, that bar is awfully low. And that's not a knock on him individually. It's just that we know this team has struggled so mightily to produce offense. And so, yeah, I mean, I think answering your question, I'll say Garland will win that derby. But I don't think they'll have a forward with 50 points. They got 19 games to go, the rate at which they're scoring. And he's been scoring some goals, but he hasn't been picking up a lot of assists along the way. So, you know, can he set up a few other goals? That would help his total, certainly. I think he I saw a scoring change that they took the assist away from Mancini, his first NHL or first Canuck point the other night. And after the fact, a day later, they actually gave the second assist to Connor Garland. So, a few more of those, maybe a couple of adjustments from the league, bump that total up a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it takes me back to that year, either the final year for Willie D or Travis's first year where Bo Horvat led the team with 52 points. I mean, Quinn Hughes, who knows how many more games he's going to get and how much more he can add to his total, but he's going to win their scoring derby. Nobody's catching him at 60. And so the question is, where does second place ultimately top out? I don't think it's going to get to the 50-point mark, which is just, it's unfortunate. It's frustrating, obviously, but it speaks volumes about the kind of season that it's been for the Vancouver Canucks.
Jeff, thanks so much for doing this. We always appreciate you taking the time, especially on a game day. You will be on Rink Wide Vancouver after the game, and it is always a lot of fun to chat with you. So thanks for joining us today.
All right. Get healthy, Harm.